Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon where you are, or good evening, or whatever, but it's morning here, and it is Monday, the 18th of May. Oh my gosh, we're beyond halfway through May. Anyway, this is the Having Fun Making Jewelry collaboration, hosted by me. Every month on the 18th, we post some pieces, jewelry, charms, whatever, something beaded or having to do with jewelry. And this month our colors are either brown or black, and I went with brown, which you can see some of over here. And the optional challenges were to use bronze findings, and the second option was to make jewelry for men. I struggle with that one. So let me show you what I made, and then I'll tell you what I did and what I used. Okay, I made a necklace first off. I made a matching bracelet, and we're going to talk about that later. What I used is Jupiter Jasper, which I had gotten at Fire Mountain Gems in 6mm, which are these, 8mm, which are these, and also itty bitty little, 4mm, which I ended up not using. Yeah, I had in mind I was going to use them. I also used some little 3mm bone, antique bone from Fire Mountain, back in, I don't know when, but probably 3 or 4 years ago at least. Maybe more like 6 or 7 years ago. The thing is, I'm finding some of these are misshapen, and actually whenever you get your beads, cull them and go through them, because I actually did find one 6mm bead that's flat on one side, and you're going to have that whenever people are carving natural stones and things. So Jupiter Jasper, why is it called that? Because some of these larger ones, you might be able to see it good, they have rings in them, like that one. I like Jupiter, and this one, that all of them do, but there is just a degree of the differences in them, and there's color variation. So if you want things to be matchy gemstones, beads are not going to be for you, because they rarely, in fact, it's really hard for me to make earrings because I can never get them matchy, and I like my earrings to be more matchy, but I digress. So, oh, and the other thing I used was some Swarovski crystal in the color Crystal Golden Shadow, which I love. I think I had used this, well, I know I had, because I had used 96 out of 144 before I started this. This is the color. It's like a nice neutral, but it's very sparkly. Swarovski crystal is the best, and I prefer it over any other crystals, actually. Now, another option I thought about using were these, but I thought it made it look more like a just for fall, and I wasn't going for that look. And these are metallic sunshine topaz kind of color, really pretty also, and that would go perfectly with those Jupiter Jasper, but I just wasn't feeling it. So bronze findings, I had these vintage brass, actually 15mm lobster class. They were from a company, eebeads.com, which has not been around for years now. So I ended up using one of each on the necklace and the bracelet. I also had some earrings. They're more like an antique copper, but it's the only ear wires I could find other than using wire, and my wire wasn't exactly the right color either. You get so many variations. Anyway, these I got from Beadbox Bargain. They're store, not the box. And I did have from, these were all EE beads as well. I've had them for years. Some head pins and eye pins I use for the earrings. And then I had from EE Beads crimps from Beadaholic, antique brass. Oh, those are clamshells. Nope. Beadaholic, wire guardians, and Fire Mountain Gems, crimp cover. Looks like antique gold plated brass. So anyway, they're all similar color. And then I needed one jump ring for the bracelet, and I found I had these from Bead Box Bargains. They are 7mm antique brass finish, so they're not exactly the right color either, but they were pretty close, so I used them. And for this pair of earrings, I had these flourishes. Now these were from Fusion Beads, which just recently announced they were closing for good, which is a shame. They've been around for quite a while. Anyway, and that's where I got these from, and there was a right and a left. I do have one other pair of those that I had gotten at Beadaholic, and they're the same thing. They're from Vintage, which is natural brass, and they do have a right and a left because the back is different. It's more hollow, and I thought those were pretty, but I want to save this pair because I want to use it more with peacock colors. And I have some other ideas for it, which I think was what I wanted originally to do with these, and I just didn't ever get to it. And then I had pulled out some other things which I did not be using. The chain here was from jewelrymaker.com. I don't know when I bought it, but I stopped buying from them at least 2 years ago, maybe 3. So I got this sort of vintage bronze copper looking chain, which was the closest chain I had, and that's what I used for the extender up here. So let me bring this up a little closer so you can see the necklace. It is a 22-inch with a 2-inch extender. And originally I was going to put bead caps around this, but I really didn't want to cover up the design. So this one I thought was really cool, and I wanted that to be in the center and be my focal. And then I did patterns of 3, which I do 3s, 5s, 7s usually. So up to here I did two 6mm and an 8mm, and then I alternated 2 Swarovski and a bone, or 2 bone and a Swarovski. And then I wanted to save on Swarovski a little bit, but when you get to the back, I wanted to use more gemstones because I figured people aren't going to see the sparkly as much. But then towards the very back, I just put one more set of sparklies, and then 3 of the smaller 6mm, a bone, and then the crimp bead with the crimp cover. And then the clasp hooks right onto the chain. And I don't know if it's closed chain. I couldn't see an opening, so I'm assuming it's a closed chain, and I cut it to get it off the roll. And then I just have a little dangle with the smaller 6mm and 2 bone. I didn't put a Swarovski on that because I felt like it would be sharp perhaps and rub somebody's back hanging down, so that's why I didn't do that. I think of those kind of things. The bracelet started out trying to be a 7-inch. So I'm going to say that this is unisex because by the time I got the pattern and put the clasp on, it ended up being 7 3/4. It's actually a little big on me. So this could be male or female bracelet, and if for just solely female with smaller wrists, I'll have to make another one and get it to, I'll probably have to change the design and maybe just have one set of big here in the middle and then small all the way around, well, I may have to go real small because I'm almost out of the 6mm. I don't know if you can see, that's all I have left of the 6mm. I have more of the 8mm, and then I have a bunch of 4mm that I didn't actually use. So I may have to change it up a little bit. And then I just made 2 pair of simple earrings. This one has bone an 8mm and a Swarovski. And then this one just has an 8mm, a 4mm, and a Swarovski. So I did use, oops, a 4mm. Thought those were cool. And I tried to match the beads up as best I could, but actually when I laid these down, I thought they both had the Saturn or Jupiter rings or whatever going the same direction, but what I didn't realize is the hole was in a different place, so they ended up, this one's more angled and this one's more straight, but what are you gonna do? And then these are more dark, and I just tried to match the color up, but the pattern nearly impossible. Nearly impossible. And then these just have a darker 6mm with 2 Swarovski. And I had to make sure that when I put them on the ear wire that the front of the piece was facing the right direction, so that when you wear them you get a left and a front and they don't spin around. So those are my projects for this month. Now I have the bug. I just want to show you something. I pulled out these. These are bone. I got them at Michael's Bead Gallery in 2015, so only 5 years ago. That's probably one of my more recent purchases. I forget how long things go. And it has 7 beads, right, for $4.79. However, I guess I didn't look at this closely enough because this one really isn't usable on this side. I can flip it over, but I definitely can't use it for earrings. Possibly a pendant against something, like a piece of metal or something. And there's one other one, I think it's, yeah, this one has a big, like the wing is messed up, splotch. So again, I can use it, but maybe against a piece of metal back, you know, as a pendant or something. So that means I have 5 usable beads for things like earrings. Well, of course, then that means 4 for 2 pair of earrings, or 5 for 1 bracelet. But I like them for earrings because the dragonfly hangs down nicely. So I'm going to be using those as well for brown. I didn't get to it. And I have these bone roundish. Call them roundish. They're more like, but even these, see how some have dark in them. They're from Happy Mango Beads in 2014, and I thought those would go really well with these. They're a little bit bigger bead, so we'll see. I might be making some of those. And then I have these, so when I start digging through stuff, I find all this other stuff. These are horn beads, bead horn, dyed, and I forget, waxed, golden leaves. And I thought these two right here actually would make nice earrings as well, and then have one facing one way. And there's 2 little round beads, one on each end, so I could use them as well. Oh, there's only one on one end. Shoot. Anyway, they only give you one of those. That's weird. So yeah, and I got those in 2013. No. Oh no, 16 here. Sorry, that was 13 beads. So yeah, I don't know. Some people may be against bone and horn, but if they're achieved, if they're purchased without being cruel, like I know even in my backyard I find deer antlers, which is basically bone, when they spar or whatever they do, they lose their antlers. If they're achieved that way and not by cruelly killing animals, I'm okay with it. And I don't know for sure that all these were, but Happy Mango Beads I'm pretty sure is okay. And Fire Mountain I pretty well trust for that kind of thing. They actually have articles on their website about that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's where I'm at, and these are what I made for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please go check out the other collab members. We're a small group. If anybody is interested in joining, we, like I said, post once a month on the 18th, and I hope that you will consider joining us. There is a mandatory color theme each month, and then 2 optional alternatives. Like this month I said was to use bronze findings, and I sort of used a combination of bronze and brass, and also it was to make something for men, and I think this could work. Maybe I'd have to take the sparklies off and then it would be all right for a guy. I'll probably redo that because I think it's a little too big. Anyway, all right guys, thanks. I'll talk to you later, and hope you enjoyed.